Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. South Africa's state-owned Industrial Development Corporation has made a 3.24 billion rand investment into platinum's comeback as an integrated miner and beneficiator. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer tells us more. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Shannon.
Now, can you tell us a bit more about Nuco, Platinum's enhanced and temporarily named new company?
Yes, anyone who hasn't got a name for a company calls it Nuco. And this is born out of Platinum, which we knew was mining on the western bushveld, close to Maruleng. And they then consolidated properties next door to them. So they added 3 properties to their original property. So they've changed the name to Nuco because it's far bigger now. And they've got new thinking around it. And they've got a new partner, Moneybags, the Industrial Development Corporation. The Industrial Development Corporation, and it's gone headlong into platinum here. It's bought 16% of this Nuco for 3.24 billion rand. So that is an indication of what they the value that they place on platinum in South Africa. We've got this platinum endowment. We're blessed with this. We've got 87% of the global reserves, known reserves, and we don't do enough with it, which is the story of South Africa. I think they quoted from T.E. Lawrence's book about when people dream at night and they close their eyes and it's a normal dream, it normally leads to nothing. But if you dream during the day with your eyes wide open and you use some of the reality, you can realize that dream. And this is what they're applying to this. They want to do something far differently with this particular operation. And they're looking at downstream opportunities. And this is what excites the likes of the Industrial Development Corporation, which is state-owned. For how long have we paid lip service to beneficiation? Foreigners don't even know what we're talking about. It means, adding value to your metals and minerals by producing products for them, downstream products, or at least adding value. So we have added value. In the past, we've gone to the refinery stage. All of a sudden now, because they've been dreaming with their eyes wide open, they've come to this realization that perhaps you should try a new way of doing things. And along has come Keith Liddell, and he's offered them the CAL process, which seems like the answer to a maiden's prayer. Because the third stage of this low energy process is really a refinery type process. So, firstly, we don't beneficiate because there's no energy. This uses about 1/5 of the energy. It doesn't smelt. So it goes a hydrometallic route, not a pyrometallic route. It doesn't have to go to 1,600 degrees C. So there's a lot new in this. And Nuco, I think, is possibly a name they could keep because it's going to be new.
Now, Pallinghurst chairperson Brian Gilbertson and IDC CEO Jeffrey Kena have mentioned the value-add benefit of the beneficiation. Can you elaborate on that?
We don't have many thought leaders in South Africa anymore. But a person who was a thought leader and still is a thought leader is Brian Gilbertson. I remember speaking to Brian many years ago when we had Alusaf. And he was actually going down to Alusaf Gencor, which was the mining company that had a big share in that. He was going down to close Alusaf because Alusaf was a bit strategic. We wanted it in South Africa for strategic rather than commercial reasons because it produced aluminium. But it really wasn't working. And so they were going to close this. But he came back with a big smile on his face because there was such a good business case presented for keeping it open that we now see what's happened on that East Coast. Our East Coast is a big aluminium smelting hub, but it was predicated on the low cost of electricity, you see. That era has now passed. But we see new thought leadership coming in from this Nuco, and they want to perhaps, it's a grandiose term, create a Silicon Valley for platinum. Call it a Platinum Valley, whatever you like. And the new thinking around a Silicon Valley can be a multi-sited type thing. It doesn't have to be a one site. But we know that the Bakatla community, they are dead keen on this. It's close to Sun City there. They would like to have a sort of industrial hub. So they have been quite shrewd, this Bakatla. Because, many of these communities sit on property and they don't realize that they can leverage cash off that property. So, you know, if a miner wants to come and use your property, you sign up an agreement with him. He either purchases that agreement or he leases it for 100 years or whatever, but he gives you cash. And that's what the Bakatla did. They said, you're using our property, we'll, you know, give you the use of this for X amount, which turned out to be R1 billion. That then meant that they didn't have to run to the banks to raise debt to get their 27% of Newco. So they've paid for it cash by leveraging the value of their land. Now they see more leverage possible. They see, we always say platinum is a catalyst, a great catalyst. They see mining as a catalyst for their economic freedom. They want to establish an industrial hub there, and you can see there are quite a few other activities in tourism, etc., because they're close to the Pilanesberg. They are dead keen that, you know, the jobs that they create are high-skilled jobs, and that people move in and perhaps use that third stage of the KEL process, which is really what we know as the refining stage, when it becomes a liquid. The platinum goes into liquid form. They can direct that then into various industrial activities. We could have that being used for the manufacture of autocatalytic converters, which are placed under your car and which clean the exhaust fumes. And we know that at COP17 last year, we heard the CEO of Anglo American, Cynthia Carroll, tell the world that South Africa has the window of opportunity is wide open for South Africa to manufacture fuel cells locally, and in doing so create hundreds of thousands of jobs and kill the other bird with a stone, clean energy. Now, this could also be an opportunity for them to get one of those streams going into a fuel cell type of manufacture, which is the engine of the future. So a lot of hope here, a lot of dreaming, but you know, if you don't dream, and hopefully they dream with their eyes wide open, I think they are, because you can see the sort of initiatives they're taking already, you could realize this dream.
Now, what empowerment partnership does this new venture bring to the table? You
see, this empowerment is an interesting one. You know, you read every day that empowerment partners have been given debt, or they've got debt from banks. So they borrow money from banks. They are previously disadvantaged people. They then go along to the bank and they borrow a lot of money, which is a risky thing. They then plow that money into a company in order to buy shares in that company. You know, it's between 14 and 26%. 26% is often the number. Then all of a sudden, the value of those shares falls, and the banks are saying, hey, you know, you're not able to pay us off for this debt because the dividends aren't coming through and your shares have lost the value, and what are we going to do about this? You know, can you give us some more cash? And it creates a lot of problems. With this empowerment deal, you've not only got a community that is dragging its partners along and saying, we want industrial hubs, we want manufacturing hubs, we want things around agriculture. They're dragging their partners along, who are also thought leaders and also sovereign state funders. But at the same time, the empowerment cannot be shaken. You know, that 27% is paid for cash. So no one can come and take the keys of that and say, no, well, we're going to turn this down to 20% or whatever, because we're going to convert those shares our way, you know, because you haven't been able to service your loans. That is paid for. So it's quite a well-structured empowerment deal. And that also pleases the Industrial Development Corporation, because they're under pressure from government to make sure that they beneficiate, but they also make sure that when there's an empowerment, it's a genuine empowerment. It's not a dicky one. And that there's an involvement. Now, the Bakatla number about 350,000 people. So they're quite an ambitious crowd. So they want to, you know, outdo the Bafokeng, who are around the corner, who are the leaders, you know, in how a community can really turn platinum to positive accounts, you know, even building top soccer stadiums and all the rest. So there's a bit of rivalry there. And these guys want to sock it to them. And so it'll be interesting space to watch.
Now, finally, what does the future of PGM mining look like over the next few years?
You know, the further you go with PGM minings, the happier you become. Now, you know, besides the thought leader we have in Brian Gilbertson, you know, we have a very strong partnership there because he's CEO of Pallinghurst, is Arnie Fransen, you know, who's come through JP Morgan, he's come through Goldman Sachs, you know, he's an investment banker, so, you know, he's quite strong on being debt-free, etc. But he's got a wonderful name for platinum. He calls it fairy dust. Fairy dust, because of the seemingly magical manner in which it's always getting new applications all the time. It's always doing something that we didn't think it was doing. And now that they've done the calculation, they say that this fairy dust touches 20% of the consumer and industrial products that, you know, we think, okay, it is this great autocatalytic converter under the car that's cleaning the air and making people breathe in Tokyo and London. But it also, you wouldn't be able to put petrol in the car without that catalyst. You wouldn't have fertilizer without platinum. You know, you wouldn't have DVDs, you wouldn't have telephones, you know, it's becoming ubiquitous, platinum. So along comes the fairy and it sprinkles this dust. And so we're getting more and more into platinum. It's going into the energy field. It's possibly going to help drive our cars. It'll be the engine of the future. So it's looking better and better, which puts South Africa and Zimbabwe in a wonderful space. And perhaps we should have been doing this a long time ago. You know, South Africans we often fall asleep at the wheel when it comes to actually dreaming of the possibilities. We know we had a lot of chrome. We thought, well, chrome is a stainless steel ingredient. Let's set up a chrome plant. We tried Middelburg Steel and Alloys. Well, you can see the Spanish own that now. And we hear nothing from the Spanish. I mean, gee, you know, I think a Carmelite nun who's taken the vow of silence, you'll get more out of her than you get out of these Spanish guys out there, Middelburg Steel and Alloy. They tell you nothing. We've got manganese now. You know, we've got like 80% of the world's high quality manganese, but less than 20% of the market. So, you know, we don't really do the proper hard yards. And that's, of course, constrained by logistics, so we can blame the government. They're sabotaging their own economy. But if we come back to platinum, here's an opportunity. This is a hell of an opportunity, because although we say we've got the manganese, I mean, there's manganese in a lot of other places in the world. Although we say we've got the chrome, you know, you do get chrome around the place, not in the same quantity. But nobody's got the platinum from what we can see. They're looking for it. And so what an opportunity. You know, here, this is unique. It's a unique endowment. Let's do what we can. You know, let's become what Saudi Arabia is to crude oil, we can become to platinum. And if this hydrogen age does enter the world, we will be in a very powerful position. So, you know, the fairy dust is spreading. Well, and hopefully it'll be, I hope more of it falls on us.
Well, thank you very much for your insight, Martin. It's always fascinating speaking to you.
It's a great pleasure, Shannon.
That's the show for today. Join us again next time for more news and insights into what's happening in the mining world.